So, on the theme of clouds and subscription services, I thought it would be fun to talk to everyone today about how Netflix delivers their subscription service around the world. So another way to think about that is how do you scale a subscription to global size, especially a video subscription, which obviously has a lot of data being transferred. And what we really think of ourselves now is a company that tries to be really good at both technology and content. And so a tremendous amount of investment in creating original content, in opening studios around the world, in working in exciting places like Korea with great Korean artists, becoming part of the K-wave that's distributing Korean content to interested people all around the world. And that's become really kind of the core of how we think about ourselves. We think about ourselves as a platform that's uniquely positioned to help people around the world tell stories to each other. And so not just American content being distributed around the world, but really working with local producers in various countries, in various regions, local artists, local talent, and sharing those stories around the world is really an exciting part of the Netflix mission. And I think one of the reasons why it continues to be a popular service with subscribers. There's something very fundamental about people sharing stories with each other, and to being able to do that on a global basis is a very enjoyable and satisfying thing. But I would start by saying, okay, what makes a great experience if you're sitting down to watch a piece of content at home on your TV, or you're on the run and you want to see something on your phone? What are the elements that make that a great experience? Well, one, you don't want it to wait for it to start up, you want it to start right away. You want the video and audio quality to be great. You want it to be representing what your device is capable of. And you don't want that to stop unexpectedly, obviously. You don't want to be watching an engaging story and have a little spinny wheel interrupt you. And so what that really means is you have to think about there are many different kinds of networks out there. There are many different network conditions that you're going to encounter. And of course, there are many different device capabilities. So 4K, HDR, and some devices are capable of HD, some devices are only capable of SD, and you have to create applications that work well in all those conditions. So if we just walk through what are the building blocks of what it takes us to deliver this service, obviously a tremendous amount of investment in production. Netflix is currently opening studios in many, many locations around the world, investing in more studio space, investing in producers and talent to create great shows. And then you've got a piece of content, you need to encode that piece of content in a number of different formats to support different devices. And then you need to deploy that content around the world to get it close to subscribers that are interested in watching it. That's a little picture of the servers that we deploy it on, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And then obviously you need the applications to actually do the streaming and do that well to achieve all those objectives that we were just talking about, of quick startup time, great quality, no interruptions. And so we're going to spend some time focusing on these components. Obviously, production is a whole thing that we could talk for a long time about. But interestingly, when I think about the journey so far, we've put a tremendous amount of time, energy, engineering, investment into optimizing every one of these components individually, and continue to do so. And so sharing a little bit of that might be interesting. So that's basically where we got to last year in terms of really the intensive compute required of doing shot-by-shot analysis of each piece of content that we deliver, and how we will most optimally allocate the bits. And so what we got to there was being able to deliver the same video quality for 64% less data. So that's obviously very significant. One way to look at that is if you look at the vertical axis, that's basically a video quality measurement. And this shows how we can get to the same level of video quality at 270 kilobits now that used to take us 750 kilobits to get to. How do I deliver the content that I want to deliver to my subscribers who are using various internet service providers at home? And so it really becomes a question of how do I interconnect with these networks around the world in the most efficient way possible? So an ideal objective was to reduce the cost of delivering this service for both internet service providers and content providers. So this is just a little bit of a schematic that shows that basically there are some servers that have the content that you want, and they're always reporting back to a central control plane about here's the content I have, here's whether I'm overloaded or not as a service. And then there are devices that are browsing the Netflix application and looking for a piece of content to select. And then when they select that content, what you want to do is route the client to the correct server in the correct location that is appropriately loaded with the correct content on it. So the building blocks of doing this are essentially a couple of different kinds of servers and network equipment, and then a global network. So you have to kind of build all of these components to make the service work. And in this example, the red server that you see is what we call our storage server. So that server is focused on storing the large catalog. And so it uses kind of traditional spinning hard drives and is meant to store a lot of content. And one of those servers can serve about 40 gigabits a second of Netflix content. And then the server above that is an all flash-based server. So what you want to do is do the calculations of which content is most popular and make sure that you're placing most popular content on a flash-based server. And that server at half the size and very low power utilization can deliver 100 gigabits a second of Netflix content. And you're really, one way to think about this is you're always kind of trading off these things. Like I can take a little longer to start and buffer a little more data to reduce the risk of interrupting the experience, or I can start at a higher quality at a higher risk of interrupting the experience. And so basically what you want to do is create algorithms that you can tune over time to deliver that consistent experience and make those trade-offs, which mostly I think we end up thinking about as let's never interrupt. Like the worst thing you can do is somebody's really into this movie right now and then suddenly they're not because you stopped showing it to them. So you really want to prioritize, don't interrupt the experience, deliver the highest quality that you can. And that's mostly by making sure that the buffer on that device for playing out the content is always full. And one way to think about this is just, it's one of the advantages of operating kind of a subscription-based service. You're collecting money from people once a month, and what you want to do is just deliver them an outstanding experience for that investment. So it becomes a very simple contract. If I'm giving you great content and a great experience every month, you're going to want to pay me again next month. And that's kind of the way to think about it, is a relentless focus on giving people what they want when they want it, and making that experience great all the time. That's what I have today. Thank you very much.